Well, hello everybody. It's Sunday. Uploading part 5 on YouTube right now, and this is part 6. Ordered the parts yesterday or the other day, and they should be coming in this week. I have something came in today, so let's see what I got today. Something came in. Probably won't get everything until I think Wednesday or Thursday. Oh, okay. It's the valve compressor and the feeler gauge. Okay, cool. Yep, I just threw all my boxes out. So I should be getting all my stuff back on, all the stuff should be in on Wednesday, then I'll start the engine. I actually had the engine out of the, there's this bare. I have the engine up here. I got all my area cleared out and everything here. Some tools, and I'll use this as another table, and then the parts that I took off. Trying to keep everything organized. I did order. I ordered a set of rings and gasket set and new piston and everything, and new piston pin. And I was watching some videos. There's some ins and outs of doing these Hondas, or Honda clone is what I have. It's a Honda. And I saw something, I was like, wow, that gasket looks different. I was like, wow, I think I ordered the wrong kit. So I started looking, and they make a 50 cc's for the moped, or scooters, whatever you want to call them. And it's a different oiling system. So the gasket at the base of the jug where the piston is different, because the oil on these clones comes up one of the rod bolts that the jug slides over and the head slides over, versus the scooters or mopeds comes up through the engine block and up into the head. So I had to order the correct one last night. So I'll be sending another thing back to Amazon. Try not to send too much stuff back to Amazon. Do order the wrong parts, and sometimes you get parts that just are not working the way they need to work, and then you need to send it back. I understand that, but yeah, I try not to order the wrong stuff. But it seems to. Last time it was part 5. It was the choke cable, and I kept thinking that end was the end that I needed, but it wasn't, so I had to send that back. So, okay, well, gonna go up and have some lunch, and then probably be back sometime this week. I don't know how much content I'm gonna do on this. Part 5, gee, I edited out probably an hour and a half of stuff. I had a lot of stuff on part 5. Took it down to 45 minutes. Just jabber on about stuff that I thought was important, but when it comes to the content of what's getting done on what I'm doing on this ATV project, it's just blah. So I cut all the blah blah out and put all the good stuff in. Alright, so blah blah blah. Moving on. See you next time. Hey everybody. Well, hang on. Alright, I'm back. I gotta get something to drink here. Like my Snapple. Wish they were my sponsor, but they're not. I sent something, email out to a bunch of family and friends about what people in their 60s are just, what really just ticks them off anymore. I think it's like 15 things or 11 things or something like that. One of them is incompetence. And that's always kind of ticked me off, but it really ticks me off. Maybe, I can't say because of my age, because it's always pissed me off. I go and get a tire fixed today. Take it to the place that I usually go. They fix it, you know, $28 to fix a tire. Jesus, I think when I was doing tires, I think it was, you know, $7 and people bitched about it then. $28. They said, I took it off the rim, cleaned the rim, and gooped the rim and tightened it back up. It's my spare. It kept going low. I had it for about 4 years. I noticed the last 6 months, every time I put air in it, I check it again, and about a couple weeks it'd be low on air. So they say it's fixed. So I roll it out to the truck, put it in the back of the truck. Well, I'm arranging my truck tonight, and usually I put this double piece of cardboard folded over, and it's pretty good size, bigger than the tire. I got like 16-inch tires. So I go to throw it over the top of the tire, look down, the cap is missing. I was like, Jesus, you can't even put the effing cap on. I paid $28 for this and you can't even take 2 seconds to screw the cap on. So I come in here to my toolbox where I have extra caps because of idiots like this and put the cap back on. Every time I get my tires done, it's just like I come back and there's all the caps are missing, or you know, whatever tires they did, and it's like, geez, you can't put the cap on? So, you know, I go to McDonald's, of course, you ask for no onions and you get onions. You ask for something extra, larger fries, and you don't get any fries at all. And they wonder why people are so pissed. Didn't take you with me. There's just so much things I just really need to keep an eye on. I had to kind of do this myself. And this piston, look at how little that thing is. That piston is 1.5 inches across. And then these little the valves in here. Let's see the valves. Let's see, I got that light here. Look at those valves. The little one there is 5/8, and the big one is 3/4. I mean, I'm talking about the, you know, the lip here from edge to edge. Yeah, so this is pretty tiny little stuff. And I didn't see anything. The bore was in really good shape. There's no scarring or anything. Now, of course, I'm going to hone it out. Should be getting my parts, I think, Friday. So I'll probably be doing this on, I'll probably put this together on Saturday. And I'll see if I can have Sean come down and Chuck put this in the bike. Had him come down and take it out of the bike for me Saturday. So, well, that's it. I'm done pissing and moaning. Coming along. Hopefully this fixes everything. Alright, catch you on Saturday. Hello everybody. Here it is, Thursday. God, it's been a hell of a week. Spent 3 hours under a sink trying to change out a faucet. Man, I had about behind the back wall, and it's one of those really deep sinks. It's those ones that stick up underneath the counter, and there's the sink, and there's the wall. Oh yeah, I was calling that a thing every good name but white. Oh my God, that was such a, oh, it was a rotten thing. But I got the head apart. And got the valves out. Little bitty things. I think I made a mistake on this before when I said something. It's the intake is the 3/4 and the exhaust is the 5/8. I think I might have got that backwards. But cleaned up the chamber. Chamber turned out nice. Cleaned around the head here. I used, here, I'll put you back in the camera and I can show you it. It's made by 3 3M, and it's a plastic scuffing pad. These things here are all plastic. And I put this on my little air zipper here, and that's what I use to clean up aluminum. Takes the junk off the aluminum and doesn't take the aluminum off the aluminum. Shines it up. I've been using this for quite a few years. I can't get over how small that little piston looks. God, there's nothing to it. So tomorrow I'll take the valves up to the shop and clean those up, and I got a few other things to do. And then I have this, what is this, a 10 millimeter. This is the one that took those bolts off on the side. What is it here? The side of the block. Right here, this goes down onto the engine case. So I've got this much room here. Am I showing this the wrong way? Right here. Oh, I gotta angle it. Between right here on the edge of the wall and the bolt, I had to hammer this onto the 10 millimeter nut, and you can see it's kind of at an angle right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind some off here. I'm going to flip this over and grind some off here, so that will fit. Instead of being angled like this, it will fit tighter, and then I can torque it to specs. So all these fun little things, and then I'll take that and throw that in my drawer with all my small engine stuff. Now this was interesting. This is that little compressor I bought to compress the springs so I can get the little keepers off. It's like 25 bucks. Comes with no instructions. I put it together backwards, and then I had to take it back out and put it back in. A little bit of a learning curve on that one. You don't have instructions. You gotta be smarter than the box. So, in the morning, I had to get my little Dremel out. I already put it away. I'm gonna have to get it back in. I get my little Dremel out with the wire wheel to get down in this chamber because it was so small. I'm gonna have to get it back out again. I want to clean up the exhaust. There's a bunch of junk in the exhaust. I'll probably spray some brake clean down through there and take some of the soot out of there, and then get my little Dremel in there and clean it up. Just polish it up a little bit, the exhaust. I don't touch the intake because you kind of want, unless you're going to be full race mode where you want everything smooth and you're just trying to dump gas into it. And that's usually like mid-range to high RPM. That's nothing out of the hole. You got to kind of keep that rough on the intake so that the gas atomizes, gets little particles, and it ignites better. So that's all I can think of right now. I was thinking something about a carburetor. Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay. This is the old carburetor. I have a learning lesson for everybody. Okay, where's this one? So, this is the front of the carburetor. This bolts to the manifold. This is the back, which is the bigger part. When you get a carburetor, this one is 19 cc's. So this hole right here, that's 19 cc's across. So this is a 19 cc carburetor. 19 cc's across. So when you adjust this, the air mixture screw, which is on this side of the carburetor, this is the plunger. When it's on this side, you screw it in, it gets leaner. On the back, and if this screw is on the back side, when you screw it in, it gets richer. I know that's a hard one to remember, but I always remember this is the front of the carburetor where you're starting everything off as far as trying to figure it out. I figure this is 1 and this was 4. 1 and 4. 1 is the leanest, 4 is the richest. So when I screw this in, it gets leaner. I screw this one in, it gets richer. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but it makes sense to me. Yeah, took me a long time to figure that out. The two different parts of the carburetor, especially these smaller ones, whether the jet, the enrichment, I don't know what they want to call it. It's not an idle jet. Idle circuit. No, it's not the idle circuit. It's the mixture circuit. It gets richer on the back and leaner towards the front. So, all right, that's my big thing of the day. So hopefully everything will be in tomorrow and we can maybe start doing something. Hey, hello everybody. It's Friday. Got all my parts in. So I thought we'd do the rings. Here's the old piston. So I've taken all the rings off, put them back on, took them all off again, and put them back on. And the reason I did that is to get the feel of putting rings on. I had a teacher in high school. His name was Mr. Indahar. We tearing engines apart and we putting the rings on, and people were breaking them, and I've broken a few rings over the years. It's, you know, I usually break them on the 7th pistons, or never on the 8th, or I've broken a small one before, and you just have to order another set of rings. It's a pain in the butt, but it happens. But you just need to take your time. He used to say, do it 3. He says, so I pull the piston out, and if you're lucky, when you pull the piston out, the rings don't fall off right in front of you. I have a lot of cars I've had, you go to rebuild them, you pull them out, and all the rings fall off. You know, they're that bad worn. But we had a few of the good ones. Take the rings off, put them back on. You have the top ring, which is the compression ring, and that's usually all silver. Then the next ring down is a darker color. That's another compression ring. And that third ring, what are they? That's just a oil. They call that just an oil ring. It's a very thin, very skinny, thin ring. And then one between that is the oil, the expander ring. That's what that's called. Or there's another name for it now. Oh, they call it the spacer. I've never heard it called an spacer. I've heard it called the expander. And then you get another ring below that. So what I'm going to do now is put the rings, since I practiced on that and did what my instructor told me back when I was, I don't know, 16, 17. When he told me that, we're going to do that now. So I'll get you set up and you can watch. So the first one we put on here is this little ziggy ring, or what do they call it, the expander ring. It goes down here at the bottom. Can you see this? Hang on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to film this or not. There we go. I'm going to put that down here at the bottom. I'll have to recheck this after I do it, whether you can see what I'm doing. So you put the expander one on first, then this other ring goes on next. And you just take your time. Okay. What the hell? Got too close. There we go. So you need to go over this way. So I'm up here. Alright, there we go. And I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, and it's close enough, I guess. Just take your time. I get the one end in first, put my finger on it, and then work it around. You can do that somewhat. Get it underneath that expander.
See, it's getting right into, snapping into place. Sometimes this one will get stuck in one of the grooves coming over the top, but it should get right in there. Oop. There we go. Okay. Now we got to put one over the top of that one. And we'll clock the rings later. Just get them on first. And when you clock the rings, that's when you place them at different parts on the piston so they don't, there's not a gap. And I'll explain that to you here in a bit. Okay. Alright, those two on. Now we have that dark colored ring, and I don't know if you can see that. You can even see that on here. I'm going to try to get that up. Okay. Let's see. Yep. Right. Right there. Under my finger, right there. You see there's a little thing it says FR. That's the top of the ring. That's the faces up. That FR. And this chrome ring, which is the top compression ring, this is a compression ring. The top one has an FR in it, but it's really, really hard to see. I almost had to get my glass out to see it because it's so small. My magnifying glass. It was so small. And you gotta just get it into that groove. There we go. Now the top one. Okay, all on there. That wasn't hard, was it? Yeah, right. Yep, so all the rings are on here. This has a IN on the top. That's intake, so this foot faces up towards the intake. Well, you can see on this the little clip. See that little clip there? That holds the wrist pin in. When you slide it in, there's a little stop there. Well, on the original, there is no clip. You stick your screwdriver in this little groove here and you try to pull that out. Well, I had my screwdriver in it and I was prying that out carefully and I heard bing, and I heard the hit the door. So the clip's over there somewhere. I was going flying out of there. I was like, oh, damn it. But I'll save the old piston. But I'll show you later on about clocking these. I just wanted to get those rings on. Tonight we went out to eat and I'm feeling relaxed. I didn't have any beer, just feeling calm. I'm going to get online and look up some more of these torque specs. I found the head bolts torque specs. I found the cam gear torque specs. I have to put some blue Loctite on those bolts. But there's some side bolts here. I was wondering if there's a torque spec on that, or I have to do the German torque, which is good and tight on the sides. So, and then I have found my assembly lube that I used like 6 years ago on a engine. I'll use that. So tomorrow, hone out the cylinder, clean up the block a little bit better, the base here. Before I pulled this off, this is the jug that goes up onto the transmission, or the case. Up here on the edge, I wish I would have washed that off with some brake clean, or took a toothbrush, because I pulled that all off and it's really close here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh, back it up. Right here. Right up here, up around the edge here. there's still a little dirt in here, and I'm going to clean this surface up for the new gaskets. And where do I have the gasket set? Here's the gasket set. So that's all the O-rings and all the good stuff I need to put this thing together with tomorrow. I have to lap in the valves yet, which I'm kind of laughed. I've got these cups you stick on the top of the, I'll show you here. Stick it on top of the valve and you put your lapping compound in there, and then you just run your hands together. Well, the smallest one I have barely fits this exhaust valve, which what did I write down? It's 5/8 of an inch. So this little one it just fits perfect. If it was any littler than this, I'd have to think of another way to lap in the valves. And somebody told me this years ago, and I do keep it. I keep these in the package. One of the people on the internet, on YouTube, told me to keep these in the package because you leave these in your toolbox, and what if they sit a little cockeyed or something rubs up against them, and then when you go to use them, this is all deformed. I put them right back in the package. I keep the package. I very carefully put them right back in the same order that the size that they came out, because they got the smallest one on here, and then the next biggest size, and then this is the next biggest size, then this one. Keep them in the package. It keeps the cups from getting messed up. So we're going to do most all that stuff tomorrow. It's Friday and I just want to relax. I'll hopefully have this thing. I hope this fixes it. I hope this fixes the lack of power. It should. It should. I hope. I've been wrong before. I just don't want to be wrong this time. Alright. See you tomorrow. Bye. Okay. Putting the head together. And I wanted to show you these tweezers I have. Works great for this job. I did one of the valves. I got the keepers in. No problem. I have these tweezers. I call them reversible tweezers because you don't squeeze them together, pick something up and take them out. You squeeze them together and they come apart. And what I did is I squeezed it together and I clamped it on the keeper. And then when I went to put the keeper in around the shaft, I do is squeeze it together and boop, and it falls down in around the shaft, and I can put the one next to it. Then when I let the tension off, it'll clamp itself around the top of the valve. I can't show you that because I can barely see what I'm doing looking down there with the flashlight. But I wanted to show you this reversible, I call it reversible thing, steel. There's no name on it. It just says made in Taiwan, stainless steel. I've had this thing for years and it works great for a lot of things. I carry it with me when I go do my maintenance on the houses and apartments and all the other kinds of stuff. This thing has saved my bacon so many times. Picking up something out of somewhere, putting it in to starting the threads into something and maybe giving it a part of a turn, get the thread started, and then squeezing it together, release it, stick my Phillips in there to tighten the screw, some little place I can barely get into. So this is a must. If you're gonna have a toolbox, this is a good thing to have. Alright, so we'll get this head together, and then I'm going to clean up the jug and clean up around where that jug goes, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll get our hone still at it. Alright, Sunday, I got the motor together. Everything's back together. I had marked the nut, and then I put a line up here onto the other part of the flywheel here. So I'm turning it counterclockwise. I put a mark on there so I don't loosen up that nut. I make sure that I don't loosen up the nut and mess things up. So that should be the last thing I need to do today. Is just run this thing counterclockwise. Got the spark plug out, and prime the pump, oil pump. Get some oil up in that top of the head. The only thing I did interesting on this is when the head was off and I was putting this black part on, which is the jug, I slid it down over the piston. And remember I told you that bottom part of the jug where the piston slides up into the cylinder, it had a little bevel to it. Well, that bevel just came up around those rings. Well, they went in there a while. I couldn't see the rings to even push them in to squeeze them together to get into the bore some more. So I took the jug and I moved it back and forth this way. So back and forth this way, I kept moving it around and one ring popped in, and I moved it around and I could feel the other ring pop in, and then I just kept moving around until the bottom oil rings and that little diffuser thing, whatever they want to call it, all popped into place, and then I could slide it up into the cylinder. So that worked out well, just to kind of wiggle it in there. Maybe not all of them have that cut deal, because I see some of these where they're pushing the rings together to get up into the cylinder. Maybe some of these cylinders are not have that little bevel in them, that's all. And I got the valves. Putting the timing chain on was kind of difficult. Sometimes I get the chain on there, I'd slide it over the camshaft, and I'd put it up there and it wouldn't be lined up with the hole that it's supposed to be up here or down there. That took me probably about 15-20 minutes to probably get that, you know. It was hard enough in that small area to pull the sprocket down. Then I had to use picks, and probably use the straight pick probably the most, is to get under the chain, go around the sprocket until it's about ready to pull out of the sprocket, and then count how many teeth I wanted to move it forward or backwards. And sometimes the chain would fall down and I'd lose place of the link and where I was on the sprocket, or the sprocket would fall down and roll to the back, and I'd have to start all over again. So that was kind of the frustrating. Some of the O-rings that I had they came in the new kit were the wrong size. So I had to reuse some of the old. I had to reuse the bottom one here that goes from the transmission and to the bottom of the jug, and then the other oil ring I had to put on the head here, which first goes for the head gasket. Now that one, the ring that came with it fit there fine. It's just the one in the bottom was way too big, so I had to use that one. And all those are is that oil deal. Here, I'll show you on the gasket. Here's the head gasket. Here's where that little ring fit into. Here's actually the ring. See, the little oil ring fits in there. And this is actually the oil return. So on this engine, you got it there. Oh, wait a minute, right there. The oil comes up this one, because this has a brass washer. So the oil comes up from back here all the way up here, fills this up, and then there's a galley that goes up here, comes across here, and oils the rocker arm for the intake valve and the exhaust. And then once this fills full of oil, it gets down to about so far, and then it picks up here. See? Down here is where the oil return is, and that goes back into the crankcase. So all these little gaskets are just the oil return. But pretty much went okay. So I'll get with Chuck tomorrow, Monday, and maybe come down here and have him come up after lunch or something. We'll take it off the bench and we'll put it back in the frame, put the bolts through it, and then I can take it from there and hook stuff up. So maybe I'll get it running tomorrow or the next day. Alrighty, we got it running. I just ran it for about 20 minutes. That's first cycle. Started up. No leaks. Smoke for a little bit. That's why I put the cardboard here behind my camper in case something came out of the exhaust. Wouldn't land on my camper. I get the fan on it there while it's running and letting it just cool down. Still have to put the 1 foot rest on it, but it started right up. I'm running it for, let's see, running this one about, yeah, it's almost 20 minutes, about 16, 17 minutes, and I'm going to let this cool down for about an hour. I'll fire it up again, run it for another, 15, 20 minutes, at least 15, and then cool it down. I might have to wait till tomorrow. Maybe when I come home for lunch I'll start it up and run it, and then maybe after lunch tomorrow I can take it for a spin. Just got to break that new piston and rings into the cylinder. So other than that, everything's going fine. Alright, see ya. Well, hello everybody. Finally finishing up on this ATV project. You can hear the locusts in the background. They're really hot and heavy today. So I finished taking it for a ride. It's okay. I have a lot better low end, and the mid range and top end are a lot better. I went from 80 psi in the cylinder probably up to 150. Helped it a lot. Helps the response. Still a little slow coming out of the hole because this is let me explain. My Honda 70 that I had years ago was an automatic, but it had a shifter on the left side where I could start out 1, 2, 3. Even though it was an automatic, I didn't need a clutch. I could still select what gear I was in, how low I wanted to go, and I could do hill climbing and all kinds of stuff with that automatic. That thing worked great. Well, this 50 cc's, being 20 cc smaller, does not have a selector. It just runs off the centrifugal clutch, kind of like on a little mini bike type thing. They got real sophisticated clutches out there anymore. Instead of a centrifugal clutch, they have more of a snowmobile type clutch off there, which is a CVT type transmissions. But not to confuse this one, it just, I'm 235. It doesn't take out of the hole very good. It's better since I raised the compression and made the engine run a lot better. But it's still, I wish it was, you could choose the gear. I think it would be better. I think if I sell this one, when I sell this, I think I might talk them into seeing maybe putting a bigger gear ratio in the back. This one on the rear tooth is like a 33, 35 teeth on the back. And I think they probably could go like a 42 and probably help the bottom end a lot better. So I'll be putting this up for sale probably Friday, tomorrow. I'm kind of all done with it now. It's just the end result. Don't mind the cloth wrapped around the battery. But yeah, this is it. I was going to paint that, but I decided somebody's going to paint it, they'll prime it. And there's the foot deals in the box. I had this is the label that was on the bike. That is kind of the VIN number. It was stuck there. So when I started to clean the bike, I touched it and it actually fell off onto the ground. So I cleaned it up best I could, got all the rust and stuff stuck to the back of it, and put it on there with some box tape. So that should hopefully stay on there when I sell it. I can write down on the receipt so they can have something that's not stolen, that they bought this for me, and have a receipt. Ownership. So I'll let you know tomorrow, probably a few more facts. I need to go up and crunch my numbers and see exactly where I am on this. Last time I think I was at 274, what I had into the ATV, and then I think I had $100 in tools. You know, well, I got, let's see what I buy. I bought the compression checker, which I needed. Some of the other tools are, you know, that taking the valve springs off. I would have had a lot of fun trying to get them valve springs off without that tool that I had. That would have been a nightmare. And some of the other tools just in the valves. That was a really nice tool. I like that tool. Saved me some hassle because those valves are really small. Heck, they're only set to 2000s. And what else did I have? A couple other. I'll have to look. And I'll go through the list. But it's going out for sale. Hello, everybody. Well, I'm going to end it here. I ran this a week ago, and then I had on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, and I think I had my Marketplace account hacked, so I changed password, do a bunch of stuff. Well, Marketplace took down my ability to get into that for 7 days, so now I'm gonna have to wait till all that comes back on again and then re-advertise it again. So while I was waiting for that to all get fixed, I changed the front gear on the chain. This is the old front gear. This is a 14 tooth. I put a 12 tooth on there. And then I just took it out for a spin today, and it takes off better. That was my main complaint, is it just sat there and kind of groaned for a while, kind of like the old mini bikes where you had to kind of push off with your feet. Once you got it going, you're okay, but out of the hole, you know, this thing is, like I said, it's an automatic. There's no way of selecting the gears. So I don't have much top end, but it starts out a lot better with me on it. That's saying a lot. It's like pulling 2 kids around, or probably 3 kids at my weight. So I sell it. I'll sell them. I'll just give them this 14 tooth. If you know they start their child out riding this bike, and you know maybe it doesn't go that fast. Because I tell you what, this 14 tooth, this thing, once you get it going, will fly. So maybe it's a good thing to slow it down a little bit for young kids till they get their ATV legs and learn how not to run into stuff and how to stop and all that fun stuff. So that's where we're at now. It's getting sold, and I'll let you know what happens with it later on. Man, I got a fly in here, man. It's buzzing around my face. Alright, so this is Rick from Get Her Done. Be nice to your neighbor. See ya.